I grew up in Nigeria to where I find myself now, definitely it wasn't my it wasn't my plan. Um, definitely God is involved. Um, in my mind, I could plan and sketch and say, hey, this is how I want the next 5 years to be. This is how I want the next 10 years to be. Um, but the good thing about it is, even though it wasn't completely my plan, a lot of my plans and God's plan for me, they've kind of been, together for the most part. And God kind of nudges me along, every now and then saying, hey, don't go there, go this way. This is where I want you to go. And the important thing is to be able to pay attention and to kind of recognize when God is talking to you and when God is asking you to do something. So it's not just you yourself, making the decisions. I remember when I just finished high school back in Nigeria. For those who don't know, I went to a Lagos State Model College. It was a boarding school in Ekpe. It's called the Bungla. Big
Ah,
bush is what that translates to.
I heard you.
Uh, so if you can imagine being in boarding school by yourself as a child, finished from high school at the age of 15, which is not very unusual in Nigeria. People are done by 15 and 16. I remember I wanted to get into college back then. Um, so 1 or 2 years before I finished my secondary school education, my dad had moved to the US. And so I remember back then I used to tell my friends, oh man, I'm going to school in America. I'm going to, get my college education in America. And from a young age, I've always wanted to be a physician, a medical doctor. I know, my dad bought me a stethoscope, a real stethoscope, for my 10th year birthday. And I would go around listening to people's hearts in my neighborhood. So that was, very interesting. It was very cool for me. So when I finished high school, it was okay. The next step is to go to college, and I was like, oh, I want to school in America. I don't want to school in Nigeria. But I had no visa to come here then, and no way to get here. So I applied to schools in Nigeria. I got into a school. It's called Lagos State University, LASU. Um, so I did a whole semester in LASU, and I can say I had nothing to show for it at the end of the semester. It was kind of like, I got you go to the way Nigerian schools were back then, at least. I don't know if things have changed now.
Yeah.
The overcrowding, lack of resources and things like that. So it was kind of difficult to focus, studying biochemistry with the intention of transitioning into medicine. But the way everything worked out, right after even before my first semester finished, my visa to come to the US came through. And so I moved to the US with my family. And by the time I came, I hadn't done the SATs, I hadn't done any of the exams. So we went into a community college right as soon as we came in. Like the next month, we did the entrance exam, me and my siblings, and we all got in. And from then, even going forward, I met in touch with people that I guess God had strategically put in different positions to help me. Coming from Nigeria, within a month entering the community college, I had no idea how the system worked here. God put someone in my life. Her name is Crystalline Bowie. Unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago. But God used her, gave me a full scholarship, laptop, different experiences, study abroad. I did an internship in DC with the VA Medical Center, all through this lady. And that kind of helped me get into, when it was time to apply to a four-year college, apply to medical school. I still listed all those experiences on my CV saying, hey, these are the things I've done. And all of those things kind of acted as a stepping stone or a building block to get me to where I am today. And even, meeting my wife, we met at the University of Maryland, the professional schools. And it was kind of, I guess, the way it happened, the way she tells the story, I was coming out of the elevator, she was getting into the elevator, and she bumped into my chest. Kind of like the movie. If you guys have watched those romantic movies, the way everything was kind of orchestrated, you're like, wow, this could only have been God. So, and even when we started applying for jobs, having kids, we could definitely see, God's plans, God's hands in everything that we did, And the important thing was we were listening, asking God, before every decision to say, hey, God, is this where you want us to go? Is this how you want us to do this? And getting the feedback also, it's been very, very key.
Yeah. I'm still going to ask the doctor another question. Doctor, do we have like 1 or 2 questions to go before you?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So, Naomi, do you have any question before I ask him another question?
Well, no, actually, I was just going to make a comment. I love how you said it was like a movie moment, because at the end of the day, God is the best movie director we could ever ask for. So, here we are, not knowing what the next scene is going to look like, but he already saw, the timing was so perfect. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I took that in. I was going to ask how you met your wife. Probably that would be, you could just say little, even though you said something though, just to add a bit to it. Probably I'm saying this live. Hopefully, I don't know if Irene would kill me for this, but I'm hoping that if you guys will come for remember what I said, you come for the next meeting where we would have like couples come talk, if it's okay. I'm sorry I had to do it this way, Irene. It was intentional so that you say yes.
Oh no, it's not, because when is it? You said next Sunday, Abby?
Next Sunday, yes.
It depends really on him.
Depends on him.
It's not me at all.
Okay. So
I'll have to look at my schedule. I'll let you know.
Yeah. So doctor, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Yeah,
No
we'll have an independent. You understand?
No problem. I'll look at my schedule. I'll get back to you for sure.
Yeah. Because I really want to hear your story, both your stories. It was really from that day at DT. Yeah, I don't know. I was glued to you guys somehow. I don't know, but yeah. So doctor, what would you tell young people from back home? Like, what I'm saying now, Doctor and Irene, you know what I'm saying when it comes to young folks and what is happening back home and stuff like that. I wouldn't attribute what is happening back home to just the economic challenge back home, right? Because you have a right to choose if you want to do things that are good or bad, right? But what would you tell young folks back home looking at you, listening to you, right? Because I did put a lot about you guys out there, saying that Irene and Doctor, you understand, and stuff like that. So what would you tell them in terms of the struggle back home? What would you tell them to do? How would you tell them to live I'm not saying you tell them to live their lives, but what is that word that you would tell them to encourage them to start doing things the right way and seeing things the right way, to have the right perspective to life, instead of doing what is the new normal back home?
Yeah, I mean, the way things are back home, it's very difficult. I'm still in touch with a lot of people, a lot of my friends, that we went to school together, we lived in the same neighborhood. You can tell things are very difficult and the temptation is out there, if you're trying to do things the right way and nothing is happening, it's very easy to get tempted or to kind of be led astray by people to do the wrong thing. I would just say, don't lose faith, don't give up. God still answers prayers, God still does miracles, He still does amazing things, with anything, no matter the condition. I think as long as you don't lose your faith, you don't lose hope, and you kind of put yourself in the right positions, don't just, stay at home, don't just be waiting for things to happen to you. You should also be intentional, also go out there and, put yourselves out there, get out of your comfort zone. If there's an idea you have, a lot of times we have ideas that maybe God placed in our hearts. You don't act upon it, and then a few months later, you look and say, "Oh wow, that person is on Instagram doing what I wanted to do a few months ago, but I didn't have the courage or the initiative go along with it, to proceed with it. And now they're kind of, everybody's amazed at what they're doing. This is something I could have been doing. So I would just say, if there's anything that God has placed in your heart that you're being drawn to pursue, go for it. It's not too late to go back to school, get a certification, get a degree. It's never too late. And most importantly, don't give up on your dreams and aspirations. Believe in God that whatever it is that you want to do and what God has purposed for you, will come to pass.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you. Yeah. So, Doctor, you can sneak out now, though. But yeah, well, that's fine. Yeah. So, Naomi,
Yes.
you are from Cape Verde.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So,
Africa.
thank you, Doctor. Yes. See you from Cape Verde. Yeah. There's a likable resemblance with. I'm not saying that Cape Verde and Nigeria, but the fact is that we're Africans, right?
Of course, yes.
About us, right? So during your process, now you're in the US. Naomi is doing great. She sings wonderfully well. I'll put the link for Iron Walk and Naomi
Thank you.
on social media so that you guys can go and listen. These guys are wonderful singers. I mean, that's how we met, actually, through music. So Naomi, was there any time during while you were growing up? I saw a clip of your dad and stuff when you guys were playing soccer. Yeah, it didn't look different like where I also grew up. I'm just saying.
Yes.
So was there any time during as you were growing up in life where you weren't sure where you were gonna head to? Where at some point you needed to go in your closet to cry to God and tell him, God, what is your plan for me?
Yes. Come on now, we're about to get deep here. I see the Red Sea behind me. That's a very profound question.
Yeah.
It's not asked often. And, I think all of us in our journeys, we could pinpoint certain portions of it, certain parts. But I'd like to share, I guess, one of the deepest moments, I guess, when I cry. I like how you describe when you cried to God. Very rarely I find myself crying before God, because it's like, God, if I'm crying before God, normally it's because of my confusion. But this one time, I felt like I didn't know what God wanted to do. And it has always been, to me, in the relationship between me and God, that I trust him as the Father who knows best. Yeah. So, I'm that type of person that always tries to make the most out of any situation. Like, God is in control. He got it. All things work together for good. So, but this one time I remember, so initially, to kind of give a quick background, I came from Cape Verde and to Maryland. I'm just graduated last year, class of 2020, from Washington Adventist University. But that was not my first choice. My first choice was to go to Southern University. I wanted to be a communications major. The campus was beautiful. I was like, this is it. I was all the way in Tennessee. We even went there, my dad and I, to see everything. But, God had his ways. And actually my friends from Maryland, they were praying that I would not go to Southern because, they were like, no, you just got to stay here. And I'm glad I stayed in Maryland because I ended up being involved in so many things with ministry, music, leadership, that I'm like, wow, this was the place. But throughout that process, now looking back at it, I'm like, of course, God was there throughout, just graduated. It was definitely a God thing. But sometimes when you are in the middle of the process, you don't necessarily see as far as, what your eye can reach. So there were moments where I was like, God, I didn't necessarily choose to be, I was really trying to go somewhere else. I didn't choose to be here. I feel like it was you who directed me this way. So why aren't things working out? I remember this one time I had to register for my next semester. This was maybe like the end of my sophomore year to my junior year. And I wasn't financially cleared. And this has never been a problem for me because I had a lot of scholarships. So even when I wasn't cleared because I had made any down payments, it was like, oh, okay, so because you have this amount of scholarship, it actually covers it. So you're good, you can register for the next semester. But end of my sophomore year to my junior year, that wasn't the case. And I was like, wow, God, something has to work out. So, me being optimistic, I was like, there's plenty of things that I could do. So I knocked on different doors, meaning try different ways, opportunities. And it got to a point, and the Bible talks about this, God will not let you to be tempted beyond what you can bear. Yeah. But it got to a point where I knocked on my last door, my last opportunity, my last silver lining that I had saw, and it didn't work out. And that was the first time, and probably the only I can remember right now, that I had a real one-on-one with God. I was like, I even get emotional right now because that was real for me. And I was like, God, I don't understand, like, what is going on? I'm really trying to, all things work for the good. So I'm trying to keep up, be in good spirits, but it's not fun. It's not, it's not working out, because sometimes when things are bad, you could kind of see how it could turn out well, like, even if the chance is so little, but you could kind of see how it would work out. So you have that hope. But I feel like at that time, I just had knocked on every door. And every ounce of positivity I had in me, I feel like it had extinguished. And I really had to talk to God one-on-one. And of course, God came through. I graduated now, clearly, years later. But when I look at that moment, I wonder, why did God permit? Why did he allow for me to go that low? And the reason I find today, of course, we still cannot understand the ways of God. But one of the things that I have understood today is that God is a God that is interested in having a relationship with us. Just yesterday, I was talking about how, we in this society today, we have this habit of, instant, we want something, we get it, wish list, vending machine, you put your money in, you get the thing out. But God is not a vending machine. And many times we are so busy with life and with the purpose that he gave us that we even forget about the creator of the purpose. He's like, okay, here you go. I need you to take care of this phone. We're like, I got you, God. And we're just so busy on it that God is like, yeah, but are you listening to how I want you to use it? So I think that was a moment for me to really pause and reroute and say, okay, God is the one directing me on this journey. I'm not here. It's not me taking care of myself. It wasn't even the first place. If I had realized that, I wouldn't necessarily take it on me, because it's like, I have to find a solution. It was never me finding a solution in the first place. It was always him. So I thank him for that, because it reminded me that, Naomi, this wasn't about you from the start. You didn't even choose to come here. I chose this for you. So in those moments, it's like, okay, wake up call, come back. So I'm glad that happened.
Wow. So Dr. Artist Irene.
I was gonna say, don't worry about the doctor part. Don't say
all the titles then.
So there was a phrase that Naomi just put up where she said, as far as you can see. Mm-hmm. Right. So ma'am, did you see this moment in your life? Did you see where you are now back then in your life? Did you know that you were going to be here?
Are you asking me or are you asking Naomi?
No, you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought you said Naomi in between what you said. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, by the way. We really appreciate it. And I want to say your name properly. Is Naomi, like that?
Naomi, like right now, and me. Naomi.
Naomi. Thank you.
Got it.
Yeah. To get it right. Yeah, Naomi. Thank you for sharing what you just shared. I was blessed by it. It's so funny how, I just love listening to people's stories, to be honest. I love to get to know people and find out what makes them tick their life story. So I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for that. For me, definitely not. I'm the kind of person that likes to plan a lot. I like to plan. I think growing up in Nigeria, you know how it is, Obina in Nigeria, that they push you to be like a certain way.
Yeah.
Like the artistic kind of people that are on the fly, they just go with the flow. I don't think they do so well as at least parenting back in Nigeria, they don't encourage you to be that, but they encourage you to be a planner, to be number one, to be so good. You have to be the sciences, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer. Yeah. All those other people that God did not create to do those things, I don't know what they do, you know? So for me, I've always been that kind of person that I feel like, okay, I didn't really have a choice. I thank God gave me the ability to be able to study and do well in school and things like that. But I never really explored the artistic side of me, which is truly the side of me that makes me very happy, you know, that I get fulfillment from, and that I do for most part of my day. When I wake up, when I can be singing a tune, thinking of a lyric, or thinking of something in my head. Those things were just suppressed for most of my childhood, and coming even to America when I was in college. All those things were suppressed. I had little expressions of them, but I never really understood that side of me or explored it really. So that was probably the reason why I didn't have a vision. I never saw myself doing this way at this time in my life. I like my husband said, we met in professional school. So I was there to do dentistry, and I remember the friends that I made in dentistry because it's been a couple of years now, and they reminded me of something that I said in our first year of dentistry. I said, and I honestly I didn't remember that I said it, but I guess it was the way I was feeling is that I felt like I didn't want to be there. Like I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there, even though we had prayed. My family, my parents, and I were all like, I grew up in a Christian home, so it's not like I was just doing whatever I wanted to do per se. I was doing what I felt God wanted me to do. Okay.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I took some art classes, I took some acting classes, and I told my parents, because I was an international student then. I told my parents, Mom, Dad, I want to do theater. I really like it and everything. And they're like, huh? They're like, we're not paying any money for you to do theater in America. Okay, so forget about that. And I mean, what can you do? I'm like, okay, I'm the first child of my family, so I'm naturally obedient. I'm like, okay, if you say I should do it, I will do it. I'll focus on why I came to the US to do dentistry. So I always still had that at the back of my mind, though. Like I just didn't feel like that's what I wanted to do. So in my first year of dental school, apparently I said to my friends, I said, I wish something could just cut off my hand. I can never do dentistry again. I can't believe I said that, but I guess that's how I felt inside, because I didn't really want to be there. And I remember that first semester I cried to my mom and I said, Mommy, I don't want to do this. You guys are making me do what I don't want to do. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here. I'm not happy, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, we prayed. Don't you remember we prayed, we fasted about this? This is what we feel God wants you to do. And now, where I am now, I can see why God put me there. I feel like honestly, not everybody has a straight path to it. A lot of people don't have a straight path to anything. Okay. There are lots of winding roads that we pass through. Not a lot of people don't have like a direct, this is what you're supposed to be. You were born to do this, and they just know right from the get-go and they on that path straight. A lot of people are not like that. So like me, it took a while for me to truly figure out. I'm still figuring out right now.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring out. But one thing that I hold on to is the fact that all things work together for good for those that love God and are called according to His purpose. And if you look at the scriptures, anyways, you see so many people that took long winding roads. And one person that I personally love is David. David was anointed king, and it took many years before he actually became the king.
Wow.
Okay, remember all the things that he went through. Saul went after him. Saul knew he was supposed to be king. Everybody knew he was anointed, but Saul tried to stop that. It didn't happen. Even when he was king, remember his son Absalom. Or was it Absalom? I think it was Absalom. Also, another one that starts with A, I can't remember right now. Wanted to take his throne. You know, there's so many things that happen in our life that it just looks crazy. But as long as we hold on to that promise that it all works together for our good. And one of the benefits that I see, you know, one of the many benefits, not just one of the many benefits that I see that from going through dentistry and all that is the fact that I met my husband. If I didn't do dentistry, one of the most important things in my life, you know, would never have happened. You know, meeting my husband, and he told you guys how we met. So for me, it's not always, you don't always have a clear vision. You don't always have like, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it. But when you lean on God, God might take us through this long path and make us do something that you see, why is it relevant, right? I can be doing this other thing, or this is what people are doing. This is more popular right now, or there's this opportunity right now. God says, no, do this, and it's not going to be easy. Dental school was not easy, and if you ask, it's a professional. It's not easy for anybody, and it took a lot of of depending on God and strength for me to be able to push myself through something I felt like wasn't what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? It's one thing if you're passionate about it and this is what you want to do, but if it's something that you do it, some days are good days, some days are not good days, you know, and then those bad days you start to wonder, why am I even here? You know, I don't even want to do this. You're making me do this. And that's kind of the kind of kid I was with God. I was that kind of kid that said, God, you're the one who puts me here, so you better help me. Okay, I didn't want to be here. But all things, and I'm happy. I'm a happy dentist. I'm happy. I found the part of dentistry that makes me happy. And I'm also, God has used that dentistry to help me do the music. And I honestly, it all works together. It all works together at the end, you know. God sees all, God has made us multidimensional. We can do this and do that. Look at women. We are mothers, we are daughters, we're sisters, we're wives. And even if you're not at that stage yet, you can already see yourself playing those things as a sister to brothers, other sisters, as a friend, and that's just you, you know. So God is amazing, and that's what I want to say about vision. I didn't really have a clear vision about what this is where I was going to be, but I truly depended on God to guide me and surrounding yourself with people that pray for you, that help you, that remind you when things are hard, that we've prayed about it. This is what God said. God is the one that puts you there. God will see you through. And the good thing is that God, the people that truly depend on God, God will not allow you to make a mistake that is fatal. Even if you make an error here, God will still find a way to bring you back to where you're supposed to be. Yes, yes. That's the beauty of this God, that there's not just one way that he can do something. He can do it in multiple ways. He can do it anyhow he wants to do it. You can make a mistake, but he will pick you up and still direct you to where you need to be. As long as you surrender to him, as long as you give him the opportunity to do those things in your life.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Yes, Irene. So you preach too?
Yes,
Add that to the list. Add that to the list.
Down here, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so that is the idea, actually, to make sure that while we're actually talking about our stories, we're preaching to people, because I was this person where while I was young, I used to see people like this, maybe online, that I see on screens like this on TV as accomplished people. Right? So sometimes I try as much as I can to pay attention to them while they are saying things, right? And hence, I think that was the reason for all this whole plan, because I didn't have an idea of what we're doing or what we're going to do or the questions to ask, right? I just let it flow the way it should go. Yeah. So hopefully, when my prayer is that when people see accomplished people like you guys talk about your stories, that it would click something in their minds for them to start pursuing that new idea, for them to start living life without stress, even though they're in the most uncomfortable places anywhere in the world. I don't know, because most people are not as comfortable as we are now. We don't have it all, but I mean, at least it's light, right? Compared to back home where we pay, you understand, for light, and we don't necessarily see it. Yeah. But I mean, as a mother, as a doctor, as an artist, and I'm sure there are other talents you're discovering about yourself that you probably don't, you've not shown to the world yet, right? It's and as a first daughter, you said that first daughters,
First child.
first child. Actually, it's it comes with a lot of responsibilities, right? And expectations. From both, as Africans, it comes with a lot of responsibilities and expectations from both your parents, and not just your parents, even your uncles and aunties,
Your
siblings,
community. I feel like the community, because you represent them.
Yeah. So, and as an African woman, there's a lot, really. So when I see you women, Naomy, Irene, Another, not just African women around the world actually, because so certain cultures are peculiar with their own kind of responsibilities and expectations that we probably don't know about, right? So Irene, as a mother, an artist, a doctor, right, and a wife, how overwhelming is it? Or is it overwhelming? Yet you carry these different hearts, and yet you excel in these different areas, right? We don't really know the in-house story, but the thing is it easy to do all that and still be achieving these great things outside your home?
Okay, thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Well, nothing good comes easy. First of all,
Yeah.
a lot of things we have to put effort and we have to be intentional with it. But I will say that the grace of God is sufficient for us to do all these things. And honestly, I think what makes it hard is if you're striving for perfection. That's when it's like never ending, difficult kind of burden. We're just trying to do what we can by the grace of God. And God fills up all the gaps, all the things that we can't do, but we try. And we try our best. That's the important thing. Like what I shared previously about me going through dental school and all that stuff. Even when I was there, I tried my best while I was there. Wherever you are, just try your best. Whatever God has given you to do, try your best with it. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. Nothing really, like I said, nothing good is easy to do. Nothing, everything takes effort, planning, trying again, failure, stand up again, try again. There are days that are hard. Babies are screaming, children are not acting right. I'm tired, I've been cooking all day, my feet hurt, or like even singing, like, okay, I wrote this song, but I'm not singing it the way I envisioned it. Or I need help with somebody, but this person isn't coming through. This stuff is expensive. I can't. There's so many things, so many difficulties that we face. But when we depend on God, God helps us. God helps me. God helps me a lot. My husband is so helpful. And God surrounds you with people that help you too, that lift you up, that strengthen you. So it's like you said, it's not easy, but it's doable. That's the thing. It's doable. It's doable, especially if you are not trying to be perfect, because nobody is perfect. Okay, there's only one person that's perfect, and Jesus Christ, and he has died on the cross, and he's in heaven, and he's in our hearts now. That's the perfect person. Outside that, nobody else is perfect. So I think that's where a lot of people they feel down, because they're looking at somebody and the person seems so perfect. The person seems like they're just getting it right. Everybody struggles. We all struggle with stuff. There's no perfect parents. There's no perfect wife. There's no perfect singer. There are people that are so good though. Like, we know them. They are amazing. But if you ask them, they will tell you that they don't think they're perfect. At least for the most part, they don't think that they're perfect. They're still striving for perfection. We are just all doing the best that we can, as long as you're trying to do the best. And that's what I think God also really values that. I was talking to my mom about Jacob. We all know the story of Jacob and Esau, right? Jacob is this conniving guy who just took stuff from his brother, then went to go hiding, went somewhere else, went through some hard stuff, worked many years to get 2 wives. He didn't have an easy life, right? But he kept trying. That's one thing that we came to the conclusion, is that he kept trying. He kept working at it, kept going for it. Remember, he's the one that wrestled with God, and his name was changed to Israel. He kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. That's what God expects from us. Now we could just keep trying your best, keep working at it, and God will meet you and He will help you and will lift you up. And that's where the grace becomes sufficient for you. Because if you're not trying, then first of all, you don't know, you don't get to discover yourself if you don't try. You don't get to explore the things that God has put in you, discovering yourself. And then you live a life, at the end of it, you live a life of regret. I could have done this, I could have done that, just because you didn't even try, So just keep trying.
Wow, I love it. If I can make a comment real quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said not perfection, but we're striving for it. Actually, I think Pastor Mike Todd, I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
I know.
One
Yeah.
thing he always says, progression, not perfection. So I love that because it's just, it puts it in a nutshell. We're all progressing. We're not there yet, but we're going somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. So talking about progression, Naomi, not perfection. So progression comes, yeah. So are you saying that certain situations forms us to, I mean, while you're taking the journey,
Mhm.
certain situations you find yourself, is part of what forms you to be progressive
Yes.
or headed towards perfection. I'm just trying to find that way to say, yeah.
I just love the way you phrased it. And I actually thought you were going to go this route. That's because what I had shared of my story, certain situations, I think they are kind of like prerequisites to unlock the next door per se. It's kind of like when you're playing those video games, Mario, there's certain things that you have to catch to transition to the next level. And I think that sometimes, there's this analogy there in our journeys. There's certain milestones, there's certain things that we have to go through, certain things that we have to hear, listen to, and because we will use them in the next level where we go. And I say this because, for example, Abraham, when God called him, it's so funny because Abraham, now we know him as the father of faith. But when God called him to get out of his neighborhood, his city, his place, to go to a place that he didn't even know where, he got up and went. However, then we see God challenging Abraham and asking him for his son Isaac. And here we have the father of faith, kind of like, having a second, guessing himself moment. And I love how God is so providential, because God never puts you in a situation where he's going to be like, well, sorry, it didn't work out for you. Whenever God sets you up, he has a plan. He's already ready. So God putting Abraham in that place, in that position, it wasn't necessarily to show us how human and vulnerable Abraham was, but it was to glorify his name through Abraham. And we see that when he provided the little, the ram, because with that provision, it's Abraham's faith was definitely tested, but it definitely got stronger. And many times when we go through our trials, we may find that, what is the purpose of this? Because if he doesn't have a happy ending and they lived happy ever after, it's like, okay, I didn't get that one. But sometimes this that we're going through now, it's not necessarily something that we're going to see the resolution now. We may see the resolution on chapter 5. It's like, oh, that's why it happened. And God will never leave you in the darkness. He's a God of clarity and not a God of confusion. So in due time, because many times, there are things that we're sure of why they happened, like talking about where I went to school. And for example, one thing I always wanted to do was study abroad. Your husband, Joseph, he was here telling us about studying abroad. I remember one time I really wanted to go to France. And, I did everything. I even packed, not having a ticket or a visa, anything. I just knew I was going because I was like, maybe it's me. Let me do my part. So I did everything. I said bye to everybody, no ticket, no nothing. To this day, my mom tells this joke because my dad actually did something in the past. So she's like, no, you're just like your dad. I say bye to everybody. Like, yeah, I'm leaving to France. It's going to be for the summer 2019. Till this day, I have not seen France. France has not seen me. But, I felt like I was doing my part. And then I did not understand. I had everything, all the requirements, but still I did not get the visa. But, it wasn't until like a couple of years later, my mom was telling me, actually, she's like, you know what, Naomi, I never told you this, but I think that this is why you didn't go to France. And she shared something very profound with me that I was like, wow, I was so focused on my dream, my vision. I didn't even consider the rest of the picture. And that's why I think God is very precise and he's very intentional sometimes in just giving us bits and pieces of our dreams, because sometimes if he reveals the whole vision, we may get overwhelmed. And there's this thing called the imposter syndrome. I was listening to this podcast by Oprah and Viola Davis, and she was saying after she got her Oscar, she had this imposter syndrome thing where she was like, man, now I'm going to have all these calls, people who want me to act, and they'll find out that I can't act. And you look at Viola, you're like, what you mean you can't act, girl? Like, what? But, you know, many times we have those moments where we feel like, oh, maybe I'm not that great of a singer. Maybe I'm not that good. You know, it's just people like me because they know me, or, you know, we feel like we're inadequate. And definitely I have those moments, but I have to remember that, you know, the fear of success even is instilled because that's what the enemy does. He doesn't even have to lie to you sometimes. He just plants a little tiny seed of doubt. And sometimes that's enough. That's what happened to Eve. He didn't lie to Eve 100%. You know, he didn't present to her 100% of lies and say, okay, totally wrong. This is what's going to happen. He just planted a very small seed. It was like 99% truth, 1% lie. And that was enough to cast doubt. And, you know, here we are today, thousands of years later, because of that seed of doubt that was planted. So, you know, talking again about progression, I think doubt is something that walks hand in hand with progression. You're like, oh, I can't do it. I can't make it. But it's the thing of remembering that the very fact that we're here is because we are here with a purpose. Just like our hand has a purpose of grabbing things, our feet walks, and, you know, we have the different things in our body playing different roles. As long as there's breath in your lungs, you're supposed to be here doing something. So whatever that voice within you is telling you, oh, you can't do it, it's too hard, you know, get thee behind me in Jesus' name, because you're gonna.
So that's how you deal with that, right? Now, when you hear that little voices, you just
Yes,
you
it's
keep it
not
moving.
from God. It's not, because we have a calling from God, and I think, you know, when we are clear on that, and I love how Irene put it. Everybody's struggling. Sometimes it's not that I don't know what God wants me to do. It's just that I'm human and I doubt. That's what we do. That's why faith is so hard. Why do you think faith is so hard? Because it's in our nature to doubt. Even when, like the people of Israel, I have them behind me right here. God literally opened the whole sea. They went through, but they got in the desert and still doubted and still, you know, did things that we're not supposed to do, because it's in it's faith is not something that we get, we purchase, you know, it's one-time subscription, that's it. No, you have to constantly go back and go to the next, going back to Abraham, going to the next level. He left his hometown and went, but when it came to Isaac, there was a new challenge because it was a new thing that introduced into his life. So, but because he had the baggage of leaving his hometown, he had some leverage when God, oh, come on now, Jesus, that rhymed. Yes, we gotta write that down somewhere. Yes, so he had some leverage to take the next step.
So do you pray about next steps, Naomi?
Of course, all the time. All the time. Right now, as we speak, I have some tough decisions to make ahead of me. And like Irene was saying, you know, sometimes God calls you to things that you don't think you want to do. But I'm glad that, you know, he gave me that dream, or that he told me what he told me, or that situation that happened. So whenever I'm like, but Jesus, are you sure? It comes back to my mind. I'm like, yes.
So Irene, how do you deal with your next steps? How do you deal with the next thing you want to do?
For me, thank you for all that you shared, and Naomi, that was I was blessed by that too.
Yes.
The way I am, so obviously I pray about it. You have people's opinions, you talk about it, I talk about it with my husband, with Joseph. We pray about it, we ask God to guide us and to help us to know if it's right or wrong, you know. And then we write stuff down. We write a lot of stuff down. I like to write stuff down. So I write a lot of stuff down, like step 1, step 2. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I think I should do. Oh, yeah, I have an idea. Let me write it. Oh, let me do this here. Let me do that here. So lots of writing, lots of praying. A lot of those things come to me in the middle of the night when I can't sleep, like when the baby just been crying, I just fed her and whatever. So writing a lot of your stuff down and praying and hoping that God will use, because a lot of times God does not speak to us audibly. God, at least from me, so far in my life, God has spoken to me through dreams, other people, the word of God, this situation, the open doors, the opportunities around me. Okay, that has been very vital in my life. A lot of the steps I had to take, they were just one door, and it's either I go or I don't go. And if I can't go, then I know, okay, that door is not for me. And if I'm able to go through, then okay, God has opened that door. After I'm listening and I'm trying to hear, is God saying something? And other people, a lot of other people have confirmed those things. So that's how I will take my next steps.
Wow.
Did I answer that question?
You did. You did.
Okay.
You
All right.
did. So, like, for you said something that was actually very pivotal. Is that a call? You want to take your call?
No, that's not a call. That's the baby. That's the
Oh,
money.
you want
So
to get
yeah,
up?
let's hurry up because I might have to leave very soon.
Okay, all right. So your final words, Irene. Your final words.
Finals, thank you. Okay, so thank you guys so much. I really wish I could continue with this. I love, like I said, I love hearing other people's stories. So now I've enjoyed everything you shared. Obina, I have not gotten to know you even better. I feel like I'll definitely be watching out for the other videos to see what you said. Because I don't think you've shared your story. Maybe you've shared it before in some other videos.
I haven't.
No.
Not yet,
Okay,
not-
so okay, so I definitely would like to get to know more about you and how God has brought you far. But like we've all said, we all have unique stories, but one thing that binds us together is this love of Christ. And that is enough to bind us together. The fact that we love God and He loves us back, and we should love one another. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, seeing what God is doing in your life. Please keep me updated. Naomi, now that I've heard you sing. I think I watched one of your videos. You're such an amazing soprano singer. I'm not a soprano singer, so I'm always fascinated and happy to hear other people sing, especially people that can sing like that. So God bless you. Make sure you keep using. If you ever need help with like songwriting or you want to write something with me, let me know. Hoping are you too, okay? So
I'm already thinking about it. So I mean, just let the cat out of the bag, but I'm already thinking about it anyways.
okay, yeah. So we can talk. We're all living in
And
Maryland. So,
yeah, we all live in Maryland, so.
so I don't live in Florida
Yes,
anymore. So
yes. And thank you so much. Let me hear your story too. And what I love is how like a spirit-filled woman you are. You know, your
Oh, thank you.
it shines through. You don't even have to, it just comes naturally. So thank you for allowing God to clearly shine through you and radiate your joy wherever you go. So we definitely see that and we feel it. So thank you.
Yeah.
And it comes
Thank
through
you, Naomi. God bless you.
Naomi, any final words?
Yes, you know, my final words, first of all, thank you. I feel like I should have said this in the beginning. But thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I've definitely enjoyed this time. And again, I'm reminded of how timely God is. Just yesterday, we were doing some rounds here. We were having prayer requests. I'm here with my sister and her husband and my brother here visiting them. And yesterday we had a very, deep spiritual moment asking for prayer requests and phrases. And one thing that I prayed for yesterday was clarity and strength, because sometimes you have clarity on what you're supposed to do, but you don't have the strength to do it. Yeah. And it's so funny how I wasn't even thinking of a specific situation, but just hearing Irene's story today, it aligns perfectly with a situation I'm going through right now. And I thank God, like, God, but are you sure? So hearing your story today has definitely, reminded and refreshed me in this situation that I'm dealing with right now. So I, even if it was just for that, my heart is full. And I thank you for this, Avina. And I thank God that, you said yes, Irene, to be here with us today, because I definitely needed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God.
Yeah. So thank you guys. We just end this episode for now. Thank you, Irene, Dr. and Mrs. Apata for coming. And thank you, Naomi, for coming. It's really, really a pleasure to have you guys here. Thank you guys. So we'll go off stream now. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah. So yeah. So now let's just do a 1 minute, 1 second prayer before we leave. You want to pray?
Okay, sure. Let's pray.
Yeah.